The air here smells wrong, not like rot, not like death, but something older. Rhogar stands at the edge of a burned-out grove, just slightly off the Sword Coast trade paths, enough that no one will hear screams, but close enough that something, or someone, wanted the grove to be found. This is the story of Rhogar and Kael, and the first night that set everything in motion. Blackened trees rise like ribs from the earth. Ash drifts slowly through the air, and in the center, there is a stone altar. Cracked, ancient, carved with symbols Rhogar doesn't recognize, but something in his blood does. His pulse quickens, not out of fear, no, but recognition. Corpse lies slumped at the base of the altar. Humanoid, cloaked, recently dead. Too recently. And then he hears it. Behind him, a voice. Calm. Measured. If you've come for the same reason I have, then we should both be very careful what we touch. Rhogar turns. A figure stands at the tree line, not armed aggressively, but not relaxed either. Watching him, watching the altar. The wind shifts, and for just a moment, Rhogar feels it again, that same pull, same whisper in his blood, the same feeling he gets when meditating upon his prime enemy. His voice cuts through the stillness, measured, controlled. And for what reason have you come here? Rhogar asks. The words hang in the ash-filled air. The figure doesn't answer immediately. Instead, they take a slow step forward, just enough for Rhogar to see more clearly. Dark cloak, travel-worn, no visible holy symbols, no obvious allegiance. Their eyes flick, not to Rhogar, but to the altar, then back. Same as anyone who finds a place like this. Something called, or something was left behind. Their gaze sharpens slightly. They study Rhogar now, not just his presence, but what he is, his height, his stance, his blood. You felt it too. This is not a question. Behind Rhogar, the wind shifts again. The ash briefly parts, and for a split second, carvings on the altar seem to move. Not physically. It's as if his mind almost understood them. The stranger speaks again, quieter this time. That thing in the center wasn't made for worship. It was made for something to come through. Continuing to examine the environment, Rhogar looks towards the altar. The moment his mind brushes against the altar's design, something ancient clicks into place. Not learned, but remembered. This is not a shrine. It is a convergence point. A place where planar boundaries are thinned, and power is drawn inward, not offered outward. Something was either summoned towards, bound to, or escaped from this place. The carvings on the altar, they're not a single language. They're a layered ritual system filled with draconic root structure, infernal binding geometry, and something older. Something Rhogar doesn't have a name for. Not yet. But his blood reacts to it, his draconic lineage recognizing the pattern. This altar was designed to call something very specific. Not a demon, not a devil. Something closer to primordial flame intelligence. Something that doesn't just burn, but consumes existence as a concept. And then, Rhogar realizes something that makes his chest tighten slightly. This is not random. This is not forgotten. This is not abandoned. Without even touching the corpse, he knows. They were part of the ritual. They did not survive it. And most importantly, they were not the one in control. That whisper he felt, that pull, that familiarity, it aligns perfectly with Rhogar's goal, with his obsession, with the thing he's never named out loud. This place is somehow connected to his prime enemy. The stranger is still watching him, but now, Rhogar isn't looking at this place the same way at all. The altar feels less like stone and more like a door that remembers being recently opened. The stranger tilts their head slightly. You just figured something out, didn't you? Studying the figure for any kind of reaction to what he's about to say, Rhogar slowly nods in partial agreement and says, "Something did call me, and this is indeed made for unholy convergence between planes of existence. But I was called here for glorious purpose or death. What were you called here for?" The air feels more tense now around the stranger. It is clear he didn't anticipate the site being a convergence point. Not fully. The stranger stills, not dramatically, but completely nonetheless. There's a subtle shift. Your shoulders tighten slightly. Breathing slows. And their eyes stop scanning the environment and lock onto Rhogar. He has either said too much or exactly enough. For a brief moment, something flickers across the stranger's expression. Not fear, not quite. Recognition. Then it's gone, buried under discipline and control. Glorious purpose. Huh. The stranger repeats slowly, like tasting the words. A faint, humorless smile touches their face. That's one way to describe it, I suppose. His gaze drifts now to the altar. I was called here because something went wrong. Very wrong. The stranger takes another step forward. Closer now, but still cautious. If what I think is true, his voice lowers slightly, and whatever this place was meant to bring through, it didn't stay, or it doesn't want to. The wind dies completely this time. For the first time since Rhogar arrived, the grove is silent. The stranger watches Rhogar carefully now, noticing a subtle shift. We're not so completely different, you and I. You came here chasing something, he says, eyes flickering briefly to Rhogar's hands, his stance, his presence. I came here trying to stop it. Or what's left of it. Behind Rhogar, he hears the corpse at the altar shift slightly. Just enough to make a soft, dry sound against the stone. Not movement, not fully, But something here is not at rest. If you seek to stop it, I will not hold you back, for I am here for similar purpose, Rhogar says, letting his attention focus more on environmental surroundings now than on the stranger. His left hand remains on the hilt of the dagger on his belt, while his right hand loosens the straps that hold the mace secure on his pack. The stranger is still not to be trusted, but Rhogar senses a circumstantial ally here, and would be remiss not to utilize the additional hands, even if just as a distraction for whatever remains here. Behind him, silence. No interruption, no argument, and quietly, footsteps. The stranger moves, not away, but not toward Rhogar either. He moves towards Rhogar's flank. Good, Rhogar thinks. They understand. The thing I chase is not whatever remains here, Rhogar says, now facing the altar and slowly approaching, weapons at the ready. The trail of my enemy's blood will lead me ever closer to that sacred duty which I seek. Then we'll see which one of us is right, the stranger says, his voice lower now, less guarded and more resolved. Step by step, they approach the altar. The heat here feels wrong somehow. Not hot, but hungry. The carvings steadily become clearer, and they no longer look abstract. They look like instructions. The corpse at the base of the altar twitches again. This time, it's clear it's not the wind. Closer still, they move and silently observe. The corpse's fingers are blackened, but not burned, more like drained. The stone beneath the body is cracked inward, as if the sheer weight of the ritual took a toll on the environment as well as the acolyte. Most importantly, however, they notice a faint, pulsing glow coming from inside the chest cavity. Not visible directly, no, but leaking through torn fabric and split ribs, like something is still there. Rhogar leans in, his fascination with this phenomenon growing more intense by the second. The stranger speaks sharply now. We should step back. Too late. The corpse's head jerks upward. Its eyes are gone. Not rotted, not eaten, but burned out from the inside. Its jaw cracks open, too wide, as something akin to heat distortion ripples out from its chest. And then, a voice, not from its mouth, from within. Another. The body spasms violently. Blood of flame. The glow intensifies. Cracks spread across the corpse's torso. The corpse doesn't stand. It ruptures. With a wet, cracking sound, its chest splits open from the inside. Not explosively, but slowly. Something is forcing its way through flesh that no longer matters. From within this process, Rhogar sees it. Not a creature, not fully, but a shifting mass of ember light and blackened sinew, barely holding shape inside the remains of the body. Its form flickers, like flame trying to decide what it wants to be. And then it looks at Rhogar. Not with eyes, but he feels its gaze nonetheless. And just like that, the night took a turn neither of them expected. This thing crawling out of the space between worlds. Does it pose a threat to Rhogar and Kael? How will they respond to its sudden arrival into the burned grove? Part 2 is coming soon.